to sail for the Horn. Way, hey, roll and go. Our boots and our clothes, boys, are all in the Horn. To be rollicking randy dandy, oh. Heave a port, oh, heave away. Way, hey, roll and go.
Hello and welcome. Yesterday, the Naval Action Facebook page announced that in commemoration of the HMS Victory being launched on May 7th, 1765, players would have access to a new version of the ship in May 2020. This new model will be a more realistic rendering of what the ship looked like when she launched in 1765, complete with an intricate bow figure and a decorated stern gallery. In this video, my wife, Lottie Sharp, and I will take a closer look at the Victory 1765 edition to compare it to the current model in the game.
Let's rewind a bit. In early April 2020, the developers announced there would be a major patch coming within the next year. The forum announcement detailed how a cheaper edition of the game would launch in the near future, and that everyone who owns the current full-price game would receive a free DLC ship with an estimated value of $40 to $50. The post says the cheaper edition would be ready to go within the next week and is only awaiting Valve approval. We are still waiting a month later, so it is safe to say everyone has been waiting on the edge of their seats in anticipation for some time now.
So can we expect the 1765 edition to be the free DLC that is mentioned in the admin's post, or will it be a standalone DLC that everyone has to pay full price for? Well, I think it could go either way. In the comments section of this same forum post, the admin talks about how they expect the Classic Victory DLC to be a top 5 best-selling item on Steam. I think it's safe to say that if the cheap version of the game is coming out, the developers will need to balance handing out a best-selling ship for free to current players with their hopes of turning this ship into a best-selling item. All we can do is wait and see.
Now let's take a look at this ship. The only information we have thus far on the 1765 edition are these two images that were posted on the Naval Action Facebook announcement. Looking at the ship, it really is impressive. I mean, just look at that bow figure. They have really done a beautiful job on the ship.
And the stern actually has the figures cut out and sculpted next to the balcony, which is also rendered in more vivid detail than the current model. The paint scheme shown is not the checkered Nelson colors that we have on the current model, but that would make sense as this ship would have likely had a different paint scheme in the years before Nelson. I really like how the bottom gallery bows out past the side of the ship as well.
Alright, looking at both bows side by side, now the difference is very apparent. The left image is the 1765 rendering, and the right image is the current rendering. They spent a lot of time making sure that they did this bow figure right. Every time I look at it, I seem to find a new detail on it. Perhaps this more detailed bowsprit harkens back to the time where the line ships were seen more as a status symbol than wartime powerhouses, where nations spent a great deal of time making their ships ornate before there was a need to pump out ships in mass quantities.
Looking at both sterns also reveals some upgrades. You can see that the new rendering on the left shows how the figures are cut out and the balconies are also more defined, whereas in the current model the stern is very flat because there's no walkout balcony. While we're looking at this image, you'll notice that there are two more stern chasers on the 1765 rendering underneath the bottom cabin. That brings up the difference in armament of the two ships.
So on each broadside of the current Victory, you can have 16 42-pound cannons, 15 24-pound cannons, 15 12-pound cannons, and a top deck that has 7 68-pound carronades. She also has 4 bow chasers and 2 stern chasers.
We don't know the actual weight that will be on the 1765 rendering, as all we have to go off of right now is this first image, which shows the number of guns on each side. So if we assume the rate of guns on each deck will be the same, we should then have 15 42-pound cannons, 15 24-pound cannons, 15 12-pounders, and 10 68-pound carronades on each side. So the 1765 version will have one less 42-pound gun on its bottom deck, but an additional 3 carronades on its top deck, in addition to those 2 extra stern chasers I mentioned before.
The broadside weight will be fairly similar to the current model of the Victory, so perhaps something that will be different will be the survivability of the 1765 ship. In the current meta of the game, the Victory is regarded as a less than ideal warship due to the ability to put leaks into the bottom of the ship. If you are healed over even by a few degrees, enemy players can put 30 leaks into your ship and sink you right at the start of the battle. Additionally, the ship is slower than the other first rates and has less guns and armor.
So essentially, the current ship is slow, has fewer guns, less armor, and has a horrible affinity to being leak sunk. My personal hope is that the DLC 1765 version will have fixes to some of these issues. Again, we have no information or data to support that assessment that these issues will be fixed, but I would assume that the developers are planning to market this ship not only for its amazing looks, but for better sailing qualities as well. If the new 1765 version still has less guns and armor, but has better hull mechanics and is faster than the Santissima and the Lotion, I would think that it would have secured a niche in the first rates in naval action. If you think about it, the Victory should have been one of the strongest ships in the game due to the amount of time it sat during construction. I would be pleasantly surprised if the developers held true to that.
According to the Facebook announcement, you can expect to find the new 1765 Victory DLC in the game sometime within the next month. Hopefully we will get more information on the ship as the release date approaches, as we think it will be a lovely addition to the game.
Before we go, please comment below what you're most looking forward to with this new DLC ship, and what other ships you would like to see added to the game in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe for more naval action content. Thank you and have a marvelous day.